with that, I'll turn the call over to Curry Graham, Chief of Public Affairs for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Please go ahead.
For taking the time to be with us today. We appreciate your interest in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and our Civil Works program. My name is Curry Graham, and I'm the Director of Public Affairs for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It is my privilege today to serve as today's moderator to discuss the details of the President's Fiscal 2023 budget program for the U.S. Army's Civil Works program. We'd like to thank the ports of Baltimore and Long Beach for hosting us today for this press conference. With us today from the Port of Long Beach, California, is Mr. Michael Connor, Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works. Here at the Port of Baltimore is Lieutenant General Scott Spellman, USACE Commanding General and Chief of Engineers. In Long Beach, with Mr. Connor, is Major General William Butch Graham, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Deputy Commanding General for Civil Works and Emergency Operations. Also here with General Spellman in the Port of Baltimore is Mr. Jamie Pinkham, Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works, Ms. Stacy Brown, Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army for Management and Budget in the Office of the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works, and Mr. Wesley Coleman, Acting Chief of the Programs Integration Division, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Before we open up for questions today, Mr. Connor and General Spellman will make opening statements. After their statements are completed, we will take questions from those present at each location, beginning here in Baltimore and then from the Port of Long Beach. After which we will open up the web for questions from the audience in the web and also telephone. Please remember to speak into the microphone, provide your name, your organization, and also to whom the question is directed. At this time, I am pleased to introduce the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works, Mr. Michael Connor. Mr. Connor.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mike Connor, as I've introduced, the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works. Thanks for being here today to learn about the transformational investments of the President's fiscal year 2023 budget for the Civil Works program, the Army Corps of Engineers. The administration is focused, 1, growing the economy, 2, increasing infrastructure and ecosystem resilience to climate change, and decreasing climate risk for communities based on less developed climates, 3, promoting environmental justice in disadvantaged, underserved, and rural communities, and 4, creating good-paying jobs that provide the free and fair chance to join the union and collectively bargain. We believe in smart investments that improve the durability of our water management resources and moving to a more sustainable prospect for our water resources all across the country. This is a matter of increasing urgency given the water resources challenges facing many communities. The administration has also set a goal that 40% of the overall benefits of federal investments in climate flow to disadvantaged communities. The Justice 40 Initiative. Justice 40 Initiative is a third part of the administration's whole of government approach to advancing environmental justice. Fiscal year 2023 budget will accomplish many objectives, including enabling communities to facilitate waterborne transportation, reduce flood risk, and restore significant aquatic ecosystems. Overall, the budget request includes over $6.6 billion for the Army Civil Works program. As alluded to earlier, the budget continues to focus on investments that will yield high economic and environmental returns, increasing resiliency to climate change and reducing climate risk for communities based on best available science, supporting a strong economy by facilitating safe, reliable, and sustainable navigation, and promoting environmental justice and investing in disadvantaged communities that too often get left behind. The Army will continue working with community partners to develop, manage, restore, and protect our nation's precious water resources, particularly as it relates to the three main initiatives of the Army Civil Works programs: coastal navigation, flood protection, storm damage reduction, both inland waterway coasts, and 3, aquatic ecosystem restoration. The FY 2023 budget also continues the process of addressing the climate crisis and evaluating the civil works program to identify appropriate actions to support the administration in tackling the climate crisis at home and abroad. The budget includes well over $1 billion to support the Army Corps of Engineers' climate resiliency efforts and reduce the risk of damages from flood and storm and restore the nation's aquatic ecosystems. Investments include $974 million for construction of flood and storm damage reduction, aquatic ecosystem restoration projects. Over $90 million for contributing to climate resilience efforts such as improving the resilience of core infrastructure, climate change, and $37.4 million for technical and planning assistance programs with an emphasis on work to help local communities identify, understand, and address their flood risks, including work that would directly benefit disadvantaged communities by improving their resilience. Budget also includes funding for continued studies intended to investigate climate resilience in numerous areas, including the Great Lakes coast, as well as central and southern Florida. The Army is also committed to securing environmental justice and spurring economic opportunity for disadvantaged communities that have been historically marginalized and overburdened by pollution and which have experienced underinvestment in essential services. The Army is actively working along with other federal agencies toward ensuring 40% of the benefits of climate and clean energy investments are directed to disadvantaged communities. Consistent with recently issued guidance, the FY 2023 budget includes funds to improve outreach and access to Civil Works information and resources, improve access to Civil Works technical assistance program, for example, planning assistance to states, and collecting management credits programs. And three, ensure any Civil Works policies and guidance will not result in disproportionate negative impact to disadvantaged communities. Also, the administration's American Beautiful initiative sets a goal of installing at least 30% of America's lands and waters by 2030. The FY 2023 budget includes funds to advance this goal at Army Corps cleaning projects by creating safe outdoor opportunities and local deprived communities, supporting tribal leader conservation and restoration initiative priorities, expanding collaborative conservation, fish and wildlife habitats and corridors, and increasing access for outdoor recreation. Now, let me talk about some specific allocations and counts within the Civil Works budget. In support of the administration's commitment to our nation's coastal ports and inland waterways, but critical links in the nation's supply chains, the FY 2023 budget includes over $3 billion for the study, design, construction, operation, and maintenance of inland and coastal navigation projects. Mentioned before, and go to Port of Long Beach, highlighting those key priorities. The budget proposes to drive over $1.7 billion from the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund for eligible projects with an emphasis on operation and maintenance, including dredging of completed projects. The budget also contains over $1.5 billion for flood and storm damage prevention and includes funding to provide technical and planning assistance to local communities to enable them to understand and to better know their flood risks. The budget proposes to assist these local efforts with an emphasis on non-structural risks. The budget includes $624 million for aquatic ecosystem restoration, including $407 million for the South Florida Ecosystem Restoration Program. This amount is in addition to the $1.1 billion allocated to the South Florida program in the bipartisan infrastructure law spending plan, which together will enable significant progress in restoring this valuable ecosystem, otherwise known as American everywhere. The budget supports a tourist program that has a diverse set of tools and approaches to working with local communities, whether this means funding projects with our cost-sharing partners, providing planning assistance and technical expertise to help communities make better risk-informed decisions, or participating in the national and international conversation on how to best address water resource challenges. The FY 2023 construction program is funded at more than $1.2 billion. The construction program uses objective, needs-based guidelines to allocate funding for the highest performing economic, environmental, and public safety investments. As part of the construction account, the FY 2023 budget reached $50 million for the innovative funding partner program supports core efforts to accelerate and improve the delivery of water resource projects and greater non-federal participation, and by removing barriers that prevent state, local, and private parties from moving forward with investments that they need priorities. The FY 2023 budget provides O&M funding, O&M program funding at nearly $2.6 billion. For O&M, the budget emphasizes maintaining and improving the performance of existing projects. The allocation of funding among projects for maintenance reflects a risk-informed approach that considers both project and project conditions and the potential consequences of the project. The budget also gives priority to the maintenance of coastal forks and inland waterways with the highest commercial traffic. The budget includes $60 million for operation maintenance work to mitigate the event risk impacts from the operation of existing county service projects, and $20 million to install the necessary refueling infrastructure for zero emission vehicles at existing Army Corps owned projects. Of note, the FY 2023 budget provides $106 million to the investment agency program. This highlights the ongoing need of many communities for new projects that support their economic need as well as tech-based communities in weather events. Finally, I would note that the FY 2023 program is funded at $210 million to protect the nation's water and wetlands and provide efficiency in the permit process. Thank you all again for attending today. With that, I will turn it over to Lieutenant General Scott Spellman, the Chief of Engineers, Commanding General, United States Corps of Engineers, to provide further remarks on the budget in all points. General Spellman.
We're on opposite coasts. I'm pleased to be with Secretary Connor this afternoon, and I want to thank you, sir, for your remarks. We truly appreciate your leadership and look forward to continuing to work with you and your staff to address a range of water resource challenges across our great nation. I also want to thank our headquarters team and that of the Secretary for all of the hard work that they have put in over the last several weeks in preparing the President's fiscal year 2023 budget. This only comes together with a lot of hard work over many, many hours as we work with the Pentagon and our many organizations out in the field on the many details of this budget. So thanks to all of you. This is the first time I've had the opportunity to present the President's Civil Works budget as the Chief of Engineers. And I wanted to do it at locations where we see all of the administrations and the secretaries' priorities coming together. And that's, of course, today we're here at the Port of Baltimore, where you see a variety of investments being made in upgrading our waterways, protecting communities and ecosystems, better serving disadvantaged communities, investing in science and research and development, and last but not least, strengthening our already strong partnerships and relationships. So I want to thank the Port of Baltimore for allowing us to do this here today, for your leadership. We in the Corps certainly have a lot to learn from all of you. And we want to continue to be great teammates in your efforts, and we look forward to our continued partnership. The President's budget that we'll discuss today forwards many investments here in Baltimore and across the nation. During my travels to our 43 districts, 9 divisions, and 7 laboratories, I have seen firsthand the vital work that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is doing at home and around the world. And I couldn't be more proud of the 38,000 men and women who serve in the Army Corps of Engineers today, and of course, all of our teammates, those who serve in other federal agencies, academia, tribal, state, and local agencies, certainly industry and the public who work with us in achieving our goals. Successful civil works project delivery, it's team sport. Our credibility is measured by our ability to safely deliver quality projects on time and within budget, as I mentioned before, with our many, many teammates. I would also add that our nation has also been challenged by many disastrous severe weather events such as hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and wildfires over the past several years, and of course, dealing with the global COVID-19 pandemic. And we expect from a storm perspective, the year 2022 to be no different. And we must be prepared for another challenging storm season. Regarding the FY 2023 budget, the 2023 Civil Works budget represents a continuing investment in the nation's water resources infrastructure and in the restoration of its aquatic ecosystem restoration. Before getting into some of the details, I would like to highlight just a few of the initiatives that are proposed in this budget. The 23 budget includes multiple investments in operations and maintenance activities that improve resilience to upgrade to climate change and sustainability at existing core projects, including $5.5 million for the water operations technical support remaining item, and $5 million to continue work on forecast-informed reservoir operations out on the West Coast. $6 million for response to climate change at core projects, $37 million to fund specific work at our core projects to make them more resilient to climate change, $33 million to complete water control manuals updates for 50 projects that we have identified as very high priority, $5 million for the Sustainable Rivers Program to continue the partnership with federal, state, and non-governmental partners to enhance the environmental benefits of downstream flows from core reservoirs. And in support of environmental justice that Mr. Connor just mentioned, the FY23 budget includes $55 million to maintain infrastructure that supports access by Native American tribes to their legally recognized historic fishing areas, as well as funds for the remedial cleanup at the Bradford Island site on the Columbia River. Mr. Connor has provided an overview of the 2023 budget in his comments. Let me just provide a few additional supporting details. The 2023 budget proposes funding to construct 18 projects consisting of 3 commercial navigation projects, 6 flood and storm damage reduction projects, 8 aquatic ecosystem restoration projects, and the Lower Mississippi River Main Stem project. The top 3 funded commercial navigation projects are $39 million for the Chickamauga Lock on the Tennessee River, $157 million for the Corpus Christi Ship Canal in Texas, and $10 million for the Mississippi River between the Ohio and Missouri rivers. For flood and storm damage reduction, I will mention $172 million for the American Rivers Common Feature, Natomas Basin Project in California, and $79 million for the West Sacramento Project in California. The 2023 budget contains a total of $95 million for dam safety for core projects, including Pipestem Dam in North Dakota and Prado Dam in California. For aquatic ecosystem restoration, the top 3 funded construction projects are $407 million for the South Florida Ecosystem Restoration Program in the Everglades, $55 million for the Upper Mississippi River Restoration Program, and $47 million for the Brandon Road Lock and Dam Aquatic Nuisance Species Barrier. The 2023 budget also includes 37 individual investigation efforts for feasibility studies, pre-construction engineering and design, and the development of dredge material management plans. Of these, there are 2 new starts in as many states: the Sacramento River Yolo Bypass in California and Whitney Lake in Texas. And then finally, the budget also funds to completion 13 studies in 12 states. They consist of 3 aquatic ecosystem restoration projects, 9 flood and storm damage risk reduction projects, and 1 inland navigation project. So, ladies and gentlemen, in closing, the proposed investments in the Civil Works program are positive investments in the nation's economic well-being. As we have done for more than 246 years, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is working to serve the nation and find engineering solutions for some of our nation's toughest challenges. I'll now turn the press conference back over to Mr. Curry Graham, and Mr. Connor and I would be happy to take any questions you may have.
Mr. Connor, General Spillman, thank you for your remarks. We'll now open up the field for questions, starting with those members present at Long Beach. Are there any questions from Long Beach? And please remember to provide your name, your organization, and to whom your question is being directed. Are there any questions from Long Beach? Over. Nothing heard from Long Beach?
Hey, Curry, hold on just a minute. We have one member of the press that's going to ask us a question.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hey there. My name's Parker. I'm with Spectrum News here in LA, Southern California. I think I'm directing it to the people I'm looking at right now, but this is open to anybody. I've been reporting a lot on the backlog of cargo at the San Pedro Bay Port Complex, and we're obviously hosting this here at the Port of Long Beach. Can you maybe speak to some of the specifics in this, if there are, that would maybe address some of those efficiency issues? Are there any built into this budget?
Absolutely. I'll start and then I'll turn it over to General Spellman to expand. One of the priorities of the administration is investing in our ports and harbors. And the Army Corps' role is to facilitate on the water side of those investments, deepening, obviously maintaining the ports and harbors. That's an important priority. But in our new initiatives, deepening, widening, making those channels more safe, more efficient, so that more cargo flow through. So it's a collective effort in the partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers, as well as all these different ports. And once again, thank you to the Port of Long Beach for hosting this debate. Because we're in the middle of one of those projects with the Port of Long Beach. They are making a number of investments here on the land side to facilitate the efficiency with which they can bring in goods. We're making investments in partnership with the Port of Long Beach on deepening, widening, and making channels safer, so they can have that influx. And some of these investments have been made in bipartisan infrastructure law. Some of them are being made in this particular budget that we're meeting today with Corpus Christi, completing that project, Port Norfolk. We've got a number of investments that we're rolling out today that will just, again, we do some partnership. The inflow of goods and make it much more efficient and more cost efficient ultimately. General Spellman, you want to add anything to that? Answer?
I would just add, we look forward to Congress's consideration of the Port of Long Beach deepening study that, as we all know, is eligible for authorization in the upcoming WRDA 22. But for the gentleman asking the question, I would invite you to please go to our website. We'll make sure you have all that information. As Mr. Connor said, a lot of important investments being made in the state of California, being proposed in this budget. And I think that's worthy of a read when you have time. We'll make sure that you get all of that information.
Are there any other questions from members of the media on the Port of Long Beach?
General Graham was going to
Yeah,
expand.
just one piece, Parker. We have Colonel Julie Bolton right there, the commander of the LA district. And on your specific issue, she'll be happy to entertain and answer any of the questions you have on those specific items. And Curry, I think that's it from Long Beach.
All right, thank you, sir. Operator, you can tee up the questions from those online.
Okay. And as a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question online, and if you're dialed into the phone line, you can press #2 on your phone. Or if you're joined in on WebEx, you can click on the raise hand icon or also submit a chat question. So it looks like we have a caller on the phone line, so give me 1 second. And caller, your line is now unmuted.
Hi, this is Tom Ikniowski with Engineering News Record magazine. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay, good. Thank you. I have two questions. First of all, what's the comparable fiscal 22 enacted number for the 6.6 billion grand total?
The enacted total for FY 2022 was approximately $8.3 billion
Okay.
versus the
Very good.
$6.6 billion that's in the president's budget. Of course, in addition to that was the bipartisan infrastructure law resources, of which we rolled out approximately $11 billion back in January.
Well, that anticipated my second question. Maybe if you could, maybe Mr. Connor, if you could speak about the workload that the Corps of Engineers has in the Civil Works program with all of this new money from the Infrastructure Act, regular appropriations, and so on.
It's an incredible amount of work with the influx of resources. And I can't think of a better organization than the Army Corps of Engineers to quickly pivot and make the organizational changes necessary to be able to handle that workload. Of course, more resources. We will certainly need more people within the Corps. We'll need more partnerships, and we will need to continue to evolve in how we do business and create efficiency in the organization about how districts and divisions work together. And I know that was one of the first conversations I had with both General Spellman and General Graham when I first came into this position. And let General Spellman General Graham expand upon how, from a workforce perspective, we're addressing the influx of resources to be able to efficiently complete those investigations and projects that are so important to so much community.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Connor, thanks. And General Graham, I'll start, and you can talk to any specifics with the Civil Works program. As you can see by these budget numbers and the dollars that the nation has entrusted to us in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and certainly the IDA supplemental, this is, as Mr. Connor would say, transformational investments in the nation's water resources infrastructure. But for the Corps, as you know, this is one of our many programs. We're doing a lot of work today, certainly for the Army and the Air Force and our military construction program, a lot of work for the VA in their hospital renovation and hospital construction. And frankly, today we're working globally in 110 countries around the world on important projects large and small that are important to our combatant commanders. I don't know that the level of investment that the Corps has seen has ever been higher in this history. I will tell you that we have an updated campaign plan with 21 objectives that we are setting out on that will better enable us to deal with this historic level investment that the nation is making in its infrastructure. And I'd be happy to walk you through any one of those details on a separate call. Not enough time to do that today, but this has our full attention, and our goal is to get these projects in the ground as soon as possible.
Hey, Tom, it's Joe Graham here from Port of Long Beach with Mr. Connor. What I just add to your readers is that we can't do any of this without industry. We need our architect engineering partners. We need our contracting or our construction partners to assist us. We met with many of them last week. A lot of the Corps leaders did, including General Spellman. And we're committed to work with, again, our industry partners to deliver this wonderful transformation investment for the nation. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Operator, are there any more questions?
Okay, it looks like we do have a few chat questions in the chat. So we have one from Allison is, where does funding stand for projects fully funded under BB18? What does the budget include for the Santa Ana Mainstream project? And finally, where do you plan to use engineering with nature?
And who is that directed to?
This is from Allison through the chat.
Yeah, let me go ahead and start. And then, so for the 58 construction projects that were funded under BBA 18, we can walk you through that on a separate call where we are on each and every one of those specific projects, and we'd be happy to do that. In terms of engineering with nature, where do we want to use that? We want to use that everywhere where it can make a difference. And certainly we have examples of where that is going very well for the Corps, where we have the necessary real estate to move out. And then there are other areas where today that is a bit more challenging. So we're open to any ideas that we get in our research and development program, certainly ideas from our non-federal sponsors and those that we're getting from academia. We want to make more and better use of engineering with nature where it makes sense on the projects where we are moving forward with.
Can I just add to General Spellman's comments on engineering? Very high priority for the administration. I think the Corps is a lot of innovative work right now with respect to some of the beneficial use of material projects that we've got ongoing, some of the coastal protection projects, the integration of natural nature-based features with the traditional, I'll call it gray infrastructure solutions. And kudos to General Spellman, General Grant, because I know R&D in this area, working with external partners is a very, very high priority that they've had in place for a while. We want to accelerate that. I think you'll see more and more as we investigate and look into and design new projects that would be able to do more integration of natural nature-based features with traditional infrastructure approaches. So stay tuned. I think more to come in this area.
And Allison, just add, provided the weather and the traffic cooperates, we plan during Mr. Connor's visit here this week to go down to Prado Dam and the Santa Ana River Main Stem project and get a firsthand look at that amazing work.
Great. Operator, the next question in chat, please.
Okay, next question comes from Hannah. Good afternoon. Could Assistant Sec Michael Connor or others explain to us how the $407 million for South Florida will be spent, and will that include the EAA reservoir?
Absolutely. I will get some of the details right. I'll ask for some, I'll phone a friend and ask for some help here on some of the other details. $407 million for, I think, South Florida ecosystem restoration. The simple answer to your question is yes. A substantial amount of that funding will go for the construction of the Everglades Agricultural Area Reservoir. That will be coupled with funding that has already been allocated. You're probably aware the Corps of Engineers has already issued one permit to initiate construction activity. I think that was from FY 2021. That was about $76 million. $350 million was requested and received as part of the FY 2022 budget. And a large substantial portion of that was also going to go further EAA reservoir construction activity. I think of that 350 million, I think a little over 300 million of that was identified for EAA reservoir. And then of the 407 million, there was once again well over 300 million from this budget, FY 2023, allocated for EAA reservoir. So we're making substantial investments to continue the construction activity that's already started. And of course, the overall investment in South Florida ecosystem restoration that's in the 21, 22, and 23 budget and appropriation bill is on top of $1.1 billion that was allocated by the administration for the Everglades Restoration Program as part of the bipartisan infrastructure law resources that we rolled out at the end of this year. Anything to add? General Spellman?
With this level of investment gives us the significant capability to advance all of those projects that are on the integrated delivery schedule. I'll just give you a couple of highlights. Yes, you asked about the EAA reservoir. We'll advance the design for both the embankment and the foundation with this funding. We'll initiate work on the embankment and the foundation with this investment. We'll also continue work on our oversight work on the C43 reservoir out to the west. We'll do more work on the SEP South features, multiple projects there. But again, as the Secretary said, a very, very large federal investment, and we look forward to, as I said, advancing these long overdue projects.
Operator, can you move on to the next chat, please?
Okay, looks like this is our last chat question. We also do have a caller in queue. So this is from Jenny. Can you please talk about the funding for Everglades restoration? Which projects were selected and why?
Yeah, Jenny, I hope you just heard my earlier response. A high-level summary of the projects that we're going to advance that include the EAA reservoir, continued oversight of the C43 reservoir, Indian River Lagoon South, as well as SEP South, among many others that are outlined on the integrated delivery schedule.
All right. Operator, are there any in queue that we can get to?
Yes, we do have one. And Ben, your line is now unmuted.
Hi, thank you. My name is Ben Nasta. I'm with the Outdoor Recreation Roundtable, a collection of outdoor recreation trade associations across the country. My question is, on behalf of the recreation business community, I'm wondering why recreation was the only business line that we saw with putts. At a time when more Americans are getting outdoors than ever, can you explain the thinking behind this, especially as recreation supports rural communities, jobs, economic development, health, and quality of life? Thank you.
Mr. Connor, would you?
Go ahead. I was just going to say, obviously, share your views that recreation is an important part of the overall program of the Corps of Engineers. It's important for every community that has access to the recreational features that are provided by the Corps of Engineers. As to the specifics of the budget, I will certainly turn it over to Colonel Spellman on that front.
Ben, you're correct. I would just say, from the numbers that you're seeing, it's our job in the Army Corps of Engineers to be creative as possible and to get the maximum benefit out of every dollar that we are appropriated by Congress. We completely acknowledge your concern, but we're going to get after it with the dollars that will be provided.
Operator, are there any more in queue?
At this time, there are no more callers in queue.
Can you move on to the chat? Any more questions in chat?
And it looks like I do not have any more chat questions either.
Well, if there's no more questions, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. And I'd like to turn it over to General Spellman and Mr. Connor for any closing remarks.
Hey, sir, I'll start. Again, just want to thank everyone who took the time to dial in today. Certainly, again, thank the Port of Baltimore and the Port of Long Beach for hosting both of us, for allowing us to roll out a very important investment in the nation here at your facilities. We look forward to addressing any more detailed questions that you have as we get the budget out into the public, and welcome your feedback and your cards and letters. Mr. Connor?
General Spellman, you put it very well. I don't think I could add to the acknowledgments or appreciation for Freeports for hosting us today, for everybody's interest in participating at their time in the press conference today. And I would consider the obvious that allocating resources to a budget is just the first step of the process of ensuring that those investments come to fruition, and then the execution of the projects and activities and programs those investments support. There have been good support. We try forward and make progress. Benefit all the people hiring the community. You are. So thank you very much again, everybody.
Well, thank you very much. That concludes today's press conference.